man. I got a cold. So everybody who's watching, just remember I have a cold, hence the reason why my voice is halfway gone. But I
When
couldn't
you
miss
get the
this
cold?
opportunity. Dude, I got this last week Friday, man.
Damn, and it's still there?
Last week Friday. Yeah, man. Yeah, I went to the ER and everything because I was like, yo, why is this not getting better? So at least I got my voice back now because it was pretty much done yesterday.
So you couldn't do anything this week then? You were...
No, man, dude. I've been laid out this entire week. That's why there hasn't been any new videos or anything. So
what have you been watching? Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix, bro.
Netflix.
And of course,
I feel like when you're sick, it has to be Netflix, right?
Yeah, Netflix, man. And I got this app called Cinema HD. I don't know if you've heard of it before. It's basically you can get everything for free. Not endorsing it, everybody. Anything and everything for free. You just need a Fire Stick, hack it, and you're good to go, bro. That's pretty much it. So, but yeah, man, we're recording, man. This is it. Thank you first of all for coming on, everybody. This is Amit. I don't know how to say your last name. Go ahead, say your last name.
It's Cook Raja.
Say that again.
Cook and then Raja. So Cook Raja.
Cook Raja. All right. What's your background, man? Give us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your background.
Nationality wise, I'm Indian. My parents were born in India. I was born here. And they came here around 94, 95. And so I was born around 97. And so we're in Jersey. I'm on the East Coast. I recently visited the place you lived at for 8 years, which was Vegas. Yes. And wasn't a fan, to be honest. It was too much of a relaxed culture, too many people just drinking, gambling, smoking. And like at this point in my life right now, I'm just like all about hustling. And like, so when I got back to Jersey and we landed this week and I saw a guy in a suit, like looking like he was closing a deal on his phone, I was like, I'm back where I'm home. I'm like, this is nice. Whereas Vegas, people are gambling at the airport. I'm like, all right, this is kind of boring.
Yeah, man. Dude, Vegas is a very unique location. And I'm surprised because how old are you? Like you're in your late 20s, right? Or early 20s, something like that?
So I'm 24. I'll be 25 in like 20 days.
Yeah, and I'm surprised you didn't like it, man. That's why when you texted me, you're like, yeah, it's not my vibe, man. That's crazy because, I mean, my 20s, it was totally my vibe for the first 3 years. After that, it gets a little old. But marijuana wasn't legal during that time, so I can only imagine that it smokes like weed everywhere.
Oh,
or smells
my God.
like weed. Sorry.
Yeah. It just felt like a lot of overweight people who are drinking and smoking and gambling, and it's just like that's something I'll do when I'm 40 or 50, but like it's not a hustle and bustle culture that I'm kind of used to. And it's not supposed to be. It's like a kind of vacation spot. And so there's too many billboards, there's too much land, there's something about the East Coast of like being congested in a city that I just grew up in, so I love about it.
Yeah. It makes sense. Vegas is definitely a very unique place, man. Especially one of the reasons why I wanted to leave, for one, was that I had a daughter, and out there, as you can tell, if you're a pretty girl, I mean, you can make money out there, man. Stripping or cocktail waitressing. You don't really need to graduate high school, and that worried me a little bit because I didn't want to get in the wrong crowd. And then next thing you know, she's like, "I don't want to go to college, Dad. I could make thousands of dollars just stripping." And I'm like, I don't want you to go down that route. So I was very nervous, man. So the minute I had an opportunity to leave, I came to Florida. So
did you live near the Strip?
Yeah. I lived in North Las Vegas, so it was like 20 minutes away from the Strip or so. It was a newer area at that time, but we got there like I got there at the perfect timing. It was 2006, and then I bought my house in 2010, right when the housing market crashed. So I got it for dirt cheap. My biggest regret is that I sold it. So I wish I had held on to it because it's worth a pretty penny now. So
yeah,
it definitely is. But yeah, it's crazy. Well, first of all, I would like to say thank you for coming on this show. For a lot of people, this is my first guest who me and him are polar opposites, completely opposite when it comes to like our picks, what we're interested in, everything. We're completely opposite from one another. And I found it very interesting that, you're a very likable guy, man. That's why I was like, you're a very likable guy. I may not agree with you on your picks, but we got to sit down. We got to have a conversation because you also have a startup that I want to talk about as well. But yeah, so just give us a little bit of a background on your past when it comes to like finances.
So no, my dad is an entrepreneur. He owned a liquor store for his whole life. Recently sold it, and he bought like a chips business. He's the definition of entrepreneur that like wakes up at 4 a.m. and works until 10 p.m. So it's interesting because he's an Indian man, and in India and America, I think there's like doctor, tech dude, or 7-Eleven owner. And my dad was definitely the third bucket. But it really taught me a lot about like entrepreneurship and just grinding and hustling and all that stuff. My mom went the educational route. So she was a teacher. She's like a district supervisor now, but she's been in education her entire life. So totally opposite paths. They've never invested. I mean, the first time they invested was when I made them download Robinhood in 2020 during the pandemic. So,
wow.
like and if they were just putting a little bit into the FANG stocks in 2010 when they had a couple $100 a month, I mean, that would have done really well for them. So I kind of felt like it was my job to at least understand what it means to invest in the market. And college, I went to business school at Rutgers. They didn't teach me about the market either. So YouTube was that source of like information to try to understand what is the stock market and what is compounding growth and all that stuff. And so that's kind of finances my family. Both of them have done relatively well for themselves, middle class lives. I'm trying to be the one that takes it to the next level when I grow
Becomes
up.
a millionaire and do all that. Yeah,
That would be pretty
um,
cool,
I'm assuming since they didn't invest in the stock market, were they heavily into the real estate market?
So it's a good assumption. My dad bought one property back in 2008, redid it, and it's still producing cash flow today. And he still won't sell it, even though it's at a crazy price because the rents have increased so much. So he loves the rent that's coming in. But yeah, he's been in real estate, not real estate like a guy that has all these different properties and he's flipping back and forth. He literally had one house that he got done right because that's all we could afford. And so that's doing well for him now. But my mom has not done anything with investing.
Okay. Are you a only child?
I have a sister as well. She's 29 in November, and she's a teacher as well. So she went the education path.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's you guys have a very unique culture, man. I have one of my best friends. He has an Indian background. His parents are from India. Same thing. They were like, you need to be either an engineer, doctor, a scientist, or
Yep.
something like that. He ended up being a scientist and then hated it and then quit and ended up making movies and stuff for a while and then ended up owning a coffee shop. So guy is highly successful, but it's just crazy. Like your guys' culture is so vastly different than my other friend named Mo, who I do a podcast with. He's also Indian, and his family's like real estate and stuff. And he was like the outlier. He's the one who got into the stock market and became a pretty successful options trader and stuff, and entrepreneur as well. So
my parents are relatively liberal for Indian parents. They never forced me to go down a path. I mean, my mom always wanted to be a fashion designer when she was little, and her dad never let her do that because he was really conservative. So when I said, hey, I want to go like start a tech company, be a startup founder, they like were so supportive of it. So I'm really blessed with the parents I have. It's especially because I'm doing something incredibly risky, but they're all for it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. So when it came to like the financial side, when did you start getting into it? Was it during the pandemic?
2019. So I would say like 5-6 months before June 2019. So right before everything hit the fan. Had no idea what I was doing. I got Tesla 170 pre-split. Amazing if I would have held on to it. I sold it at $350. Like I just buying stupid shit on Robinhood, buy Neo at $3, sell it at $6. I was one of the few people in 2020 that did not make money because I had no idea what it meant to hold stuff or do anything. I was losing money on options because I was just gambling stuff. So it was 2019 and 2020 was a lot of just like screwing up, which I honestly think you need a year or two of that because everyone thinks they know what it takes until you like really see yourself in a stock that does a reverse split and you lost $5,000 in one day and you're just like, when is this going to come back? Like I went through that from 2019 till probably mid 2021. And then I finally started like, okay, let me look at the price to sales of a company. Let me look at the blah, 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 blah. And so I got my ass kicked for the first 2 years for sure.
Okay. And I'm hoping, are you off of Robinhood now?
No, I still use Robinhood. I love Robinhood. Yeah, I think it's a phenomenal platform. I actually understand everything I'm doing on there now, but I don't care if I get it 2 cents or 3 cents off. I need to be buying the right stocks. Whereas in 2019, I was just buying like Plug Power for no fucking reason. Like, I love Robinhood. It's a great
people are still buying Plug Power, but I'm a little concerned about Robinhood. Now, my son, I also started with Robinhood. I think pretty much every single person I've interviewed at one point or another, they started off with Robinhood, right?
Yeah.
It was literally the platform that changed the game for all retail investors. There's no denying it. Now, do I think it's a great company? No. Am I worried that there's a potential chance that it might go bankrupt eventually? Yes. That's why I'm surprised that you're still on Robinhood.
Yeah, but that wouldn't affect me if they go bankrupt.
Yeah, well, I mean, stuff like what is it like?
We just get bought
Celsius.
out.
Yeah, but
That's
like
not
Celsius and
happen
stuff
to
like that.
stocks.
Yeah, I mean, you may be
way
right.
different
I'm
than
just very concerned with that platform in general. So and I felt like all the other ones, like once TD Ameritrade, they had to compete obviously because Robinhood completely changed the landscape, and so then TD Ameritrade had to change their basically free trading and 0% commission freeze and stuff like that, as well as like E-Trade. That's why I jumped over there, and I feel like they have like a lot more information that you can get in one spot versus Robinhood. But
yeah, I think
won't
Webull
deny it.
offers a lot more information. I mean, I talked to a guy who's managing $10 million on Robinhood accounts. just because
Wow.
like he hates tech. He's a retired hedge fund manager and he loves just like the ease of Robinhood. So I don't know. I guess it's just whatever preference you have. I think if I get a sizable portfolio, I'll move over to like Thinkorswim or something like that. But for now, it's like I'm only managing X, Y,
Just
Z amount of
chilling.
money. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a very user-friendly platform for sure. It definitely is. So, oh man, so you basically got into the stock market, like you said, a couple months before the pandemic happened. I'm surprised you said you lost money during the pandemic because it seemed like
Yeah.
everybody was making money during that time. You bought, doesn't matter what you bought, you went up, and it sounds like you got some stocks at some really good prices. I mean, NEO at $3. I don't like the company, but at $3, I mean, that
It
was
was
a pretty good
amazing.
steal.
Yeah.
And Tesla at 172. Now I'm assuming you still have Tesla, right?
No, I sold it off for a loss when it went down one day, and I got it was so stupid. Like there were days where the stock would have such a big swing, and I would get scared, and I would sell it for a loss. I mean, like this is the type of mentality I was in 2019, or 2020, which is why I didn't make money. And so it was really annoying. And I think for the next bull market, I'll be much more prepared. But it sucked. It just like it, and it really forced me to like dig deeper and like understand what it means to hold a company and have conviction. If you're gonna pick a company, like actually pick the company and keep it going. So yeah, 2020 was not fun from investing, but it taught me a good lesson. And I'd rather have had it versus never had happened, because then I would never be investing. Like I have friends who graduated with me in high school, or sorry, college. They don't know what like a public share is. They don't know what public or private. Like they're just so ignorant to it because they never thought about it. Which is, my parents are 60 years old and they never thought about it either. So I can't even blame them. So I'm just happy I kind of got into it, and now I'm gonna see, can I like actually make some money here?
Yeah, yeah. And then when did you start your YouTube channel?
YouTube. So I started February 2021. I was posting like videos that didn't really get traction. Then November like 15th, 2021, I actually started posting videos that actually had some traction. So I'd say November 2021 officially, like I started.
Okay, I feel like that's when I came across you, because you were the Palantir channel.
Yep.
And I don't know if I was researching Palantir or I was just looking up Palantir. I don't know how you came across my YouTube channel, but I saw you and I was
The
like,
beauty
man,
of YouTube's algorithm, right?
yeah, you popped up and I was like, man, this guy's really passionate about Palantir. I don't know if you remember, I actually reached out to you
Yep.
back
DMs.
then.
Yep.
Yes, DM'd you, and I told you I liked your channel, but I didn't like Palantir. And I
Yep.
promise you, we're not gonna get into it, because that's one thing I promise you. We're not gonna debate it, because I've seen you debate multiple people. No one's gonna change your mind. You're not gonna change your mind. So there's no purpose of us debating Palantir.
At least not at this valuation. There's no point to change your mind now, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then but I had a guy who I was working with who actually had like consistent hands-on experience with Palantir. But I remember you were like, well, I want to interview him on your channel, and I was like, well, you can't do that because he signed a non-disclosure. That was like the catch to it and stuff. And
Yeah.
never went anywhere. But you became the Palantir channel.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really like, was that on purpose? Well, did you like seek out to start a YouTube channel and just talk about Palantir?
Yeah, I mean, literally, that was that in November 2021. I did not know there was that big of a community. I made one video, it got like 300 views. I was like, oh, I've never had 300 people click on a video. I already have such a big position in the company. Why don't I just keep talking about it? And slowly, I mean, like obviously, I want to start a YouTube channel because I want to pseudo be a Meet Kevin, pseudo be one of those top echelon of creators in the finance space. But I think if you just start talking about stocks, no one cares. And so there has to be some unique angle. Like, what is it different about you? And people think it's just them talking. It's like, no, there's got to be something even more broader and niche than that for the algorithm's sake and for people's ability to even click and develop a community. And it happened to be Palantir. And I was like, look, I'm passionate about the company. I really believe in the company. Let me make more videos about the company. I realized there was not horrible, but there just wasn't any quality analysis on the company at all on the platform. And so November 2021, I guess that was a golden time to really step up and analyze it. And I analyzed it 3 times a day, and it just turned into this whole thing. And, now we're here.
But you started, when you first started talking about Palantir, it was pretty high, right? It was over $20 at that time, right?
Yeah, 1980 is when I started. Yeah, 20. I would say 20. Yeah, 19 to 20. Yep.
Okay. And then, because I do remember you, like you were definitely on every single little news that came out about Palantir. You were dropping it.
I was dropping it.
And I consistently watch your channel, and how just like I said, I mean, you complete opposite opinion on Palantir, but I definitely loved your passion about it, and you were a very likable guy, man. That was the thing. Like I never shit on you for pumping Palantir or anything like that. I know there's people out there that, because there's a love and hate relationship with Palantir, right? There's people who are have a strong conviction about Palantir like yourself, and then there's people who like myself who think it's just a shit company. But I'm assuming you probably get hate from the ones who don't believe in Palantir, especially since you came on the scene when Palantir was over $20. Now it's looking like it's what, at $7 now, $7
Yeah.
some change. Possibly will go to $5. That's where my analysis is at. At 500, I will actually buy 100 shares. I said that publicly. But I would say it's did you get a lot of hate for the fact that you were so passionate about this company at $20 and now it's like below 10?
Yeah, I mean, I think you get hate in general from people who are just like commenting on the internet and they're upset, and it's honestly, it's not hate. So here's the unique thing that I think is cool about the Palantir community. It's not hate because the stock price went down, because everyone has kept their original thesis. And I think my videos, the Palantir podcast we do, and the community we've developed of people like Chris and CodeStrap, and there's so many people out there. We've been able to create a framework for analyzing the company that has only deepened our conviction, that we don't think is rooted in delusion, but rather rooted in like research analysis. Could we be wrong? Sure. But it's why the community hasn't, like, it's not the AMC community where it went from $76 and like everything's in chaos. It's more so like, hey, this is a real company. The macro sucks. We all loved it at $20. We all really should love it at $7. And let's just keep analyzing and doing the same thing we're doing and keep the party moving, because the macro eventually will get better, and it might take years given what's going on with the Fed. So if I do get hate, it's just from random people that say I look like a terrorist or just say like stupid, ignorant stuff. It's not really from people that were like, you made videos when it was at 20. They're just like, okay, I'll keep watching your videos even though it's at 7.
Wait, so you actually have people calling you terrorists and stuff?
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's the internet. Like, the internet's a weird place. I mean, for the first month of the channel, there was like this random guy who just kept commenting, yo, you're a terrorist, you look like a terrorist. And I'm just like, okay, like, it really never, like, I don't want this to sound like egotistical or anything, but it actually never affected me, because I just truly do not care. But it's like, you get those comments and just like, this guy is like Sean, he's a guy who's on my channel. We do a podcast called Not Financial Advice. Sean makes more money in stocks and his day job than most finance people on YouTube combined. Like, this guy's ultra successful, but no one knows about it. He only has 4,000 subs. So when people call him out on certain things, he just looks at those comments like, this is absolutely ridiculous. And I think you need to have a very thick skin to look at those comments and be like, you're a fucking idiot. Moving on with my day.
Yes, I will agree. When it comes to YouTube, you have to have thick skin, because you will have trolls. You will have people who come on and say shit about you.
Yeah.
It's very unique. My channel is for the most part, I don't have that many haters, but I did a review. So I don't know if you're familiar with my channel, but I used to go through different trading groups and I would review them. And I made I reviewed one and I gave it a bad review. And that's the first time I ever experienced somewhat hate. It wasn't that much, but it actually didn't bother me. I was like, oh, I mean, there's 99% of other people who agree with me on the review, and I'm pretty unbiased. I try to be very fair when I disagree with someone, or when I drop a review, or when I discuss stuff. I try to be extremely fair. So
I think you need to have attention, regardless if it's good or bad, at some level to get something off the ground in the career of media, because all of us are media companies. And if they're going to, if I'd rather have them saying something and have an opinion versus them not knowing who I am. And eventually you just want the positivity to crowd out the hate, because the hate is usually less than 1% of, what's going on.
Yeah. So my one question though about you, since your platform was really built on the Palantir community.
Yeah.
Because your platform was built on that and you have such a strong support from the Palantir community, do you think it would be difficult for you to change your bias towards the company, like your sentiment? For example, like I shit on SoFi for many, many months. Last earnings, things changed. I looked at it. I was like, okay, at where the price is at, I bought at $5.20. I was like, this is a good entry for me to start nibbling at it. It's like, I like what I heard in the earnings. Looks like things may turn around. It might be some more time, but I'm not buying at $20. Whereas I have another friend who I literally was telling him like 2 years ago, I think I was like, dude, SoFi's not a good company. And he put, I believe, almost his life savings in it at over $20. So I can only imagine how much he's hurting right now. He's got a hole at this point. But will you ever change your sentiment when it comes to Palantir?
Yeah, I mean, I already have. I mean, last earnings were not good, and I was pretty honest about it. I didn't sell any of the company because I was like, I'm not selling it, because I have an actual 5-year, 10-year thesis on it. But Carp said we're not going to be profitable until 2025. I Really hated that. I didn't fully like his composure during the earnings call. He wasn't answering questions that directly. Their operating margins decreased from like 27 to 23. That sucked. Like there's a lot of things to call them out on. I mean, every week on our Palantir Weekly Pod, we basically have a debate about what they're doing that's wrong, specifically in their go-to-market, because they kind of suck at sales and distribution, even though they're getting better, but they currently suck at it. So I think I've critiqued them pretty fairly. I don't think I've been the rah-rah Palantir guy. I think every time something comes out, I explain and try to give a unique perspective, and also try to say when things are bad. Like they get horrible press because they don't do a good job explaining that they're not a spy company, and I constantly critique them for that. I think the heart of your question is like, you have a Palantir channel, therefore you're going to keep making videos about Palantir in a biased, good way. And I think my answer to that would be, one, no, because I do critique them, but two, unless my thesis breaks, which quite frankly it hasn't, it's only gotten better and stronger if like you've done any like due diligence on what's happened over the past couple months. So like, why would I, abandon it? Like there's just no point to do that. And especially if I do think it's a Tesla-like case in 2012, 2013, where you got to go through some rough years, then I'm holding, and I want to be historically correct in the next 10 years.
Yeah, see, this is the one argument I hear a lot of people say. This is what pretty much any company, especially growth stock companies, I feel like everyone always compares all their growth stocks to Tesla, and I hate that. Why is it that you guys always compare everything to Tesla? Tesla was such a unique unicorn in the stock market that I feel like not every single growth company can be a Tesla. Because I hear it about like pretty much almost every single growth company. It doesn't matter if it's like Lemonade or C3 AI, which I was a huge fan of at first. Everyone always says, "Oh, it's the next Tesla, the next Tesla," and I think that's kind of not deceptive. I think it's just the wrong mentality to have for every single growth stock. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's also a bad mentality for every growth stock as well. When I say Tesla, I'm not saying Tesla-like returns. I'm not saying it's $1 trillion company. I'm saying you have a period of it's really flat. Wall Street does not get it. The world thinks it's a stupid company, and then they explode. So that's, I guess, my metaphor to Tesla. I don't think that's the same for Lemonade. I probably don't think that's the same for SoFi. For Palantir, it has all the characteristics of it. It is fundamentally misunderstood by Wall Street. Most people don't get it. Most people think it's a secretive data. Like a lot of people didn't understand Tesla. And it's not a consumer product, so I don't think it can become that crazy, amazing bull run by Tesla. But do I see a 10x from a $15 billion valuation to 150? Yes. Do I think it'll take 5, 7, 8 years? Yes. But when it does happen, it's going to be ferocious and it'll be cool. Now, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But because I think it can happen, that's why I would hold. And, because I sold Tesla so early, because I sold NEO early, like I just have a bad taste in my mouth of having stocks at great prices and selling them for no reason, especially when the thesis didn't break. So
yeah. That's how I was kind of getting it, because that's why I was asking about your story, because I noticed because that happens with all of us, because then you have that fear of missing out, right? You bought all these companies early on, especially when you first got into the stock market, and now you're like, damn, what if I sell this now for a loss at $7, and then in the next couple months it goes to $15 again or something?
Well, it's like, where else would I put that money? It's like, where else in the market is a good bet?
I mean, blue chip companies, more established companies that are profitable.
Palantir has a 30% operational profit margin right now. They would have made $500 million of profit off of $1.5 billion in revenue outside of stock-based compensation. So then the question is not, are they profitable? The question becomes, why aren't they showing that profit? And that gets you into a deeper question of like, okay, SBC is reducing 30% quarter over quarter. Can I live with that? Yes. Do I think they can get to GAAP operating profits in the next 3-4 quarters? Yes. I'm okay with that, right? So it's like, to me, it's like, if I take out that money and I put it into something like Google, that's already a $2 trillion, $1.5 trillion company. It's like, it doesn't make sense to me, So.
I mean, safer. It still have some growth potential.
Yeah, but that's also, why would you want to be, at least for me, why do I want to be safe at 24, right? If I want to be safe, then buy the S&P. But
I'm glad I'm glad you brought that up, actually. No, I'm glad you brought that up, because I have a buddy. He's a multimillionaire. His name is Mark Marone. He has a podcast every single week as well, or a YouTube channel where they talk about stocks and stuff. And he's an options trader. But he had an argument, and I never saw it in that perspective, because I used to give people like you shit and other people who are so passionate about these growth stocks. But he's a little bit younger than me, so I'm 40. He's I think in his mid-30s. And he had some valid point. He's like, why should I invest into companies that are safer if I am not going to even retire 30 years from now? I'd rather be riskier now. I have a potential chance to grow my account significantly, especially if I have patience, versus just always putting everything in the safer stocks. I'm a little bit different. I guess it depends on your risk tolerance and your risk appetite, right?
Yeah.
So I get it, because I understand why you are more into these growth stocks, because you are younger, so you can risk that, right? It's no big deal if you take 6, 7, 8 years of losses, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be 30 and I'll just start over. Like and this gets more into a philosophical conversation, but I'm not saying gamble it away if you're in your early 20s or whatever on a stupid company. Like I genuinely understand Palantir inside and out, and I believe they have something big there. So if that's the case, Google's probably going to be an easy double in the next 4 or 5 years.
Yes.
But I don't want to double. Like I want to.
You want more than double. You're a greedy savage, dude. That's
I'm a greedy savage, and I want more, and I want more. And it's just like time is on your side, and if time's on your side, then you play with time. And if you fuck up, okay, you wake up the next morning and you be safer. But now's not the time to be safe.
Yeah. Another question that I had for you, and I know it's been bugging me for a long time. Again, I don't want to go into this whole Palantir discussion, because I promise you I wasn't. So my background is Intel, right? So I worked in the Intel space, right? So that's why I'm familiar about Palantir, what they do for the government. Have you actually spoken with anybody who's used the software that broke their NDA? Behind, like not on screen, not on YouTube or so, but have you actually spoken to anybody who's actually utilized the software?
Yeah, so I spoke to a couple of people who utilized it in the commercial sector. I spoke to some former employees that are in the company that have never gone on the camera. In terms of someone using it in the defense sector, I do not believe I've spoken to someone off camera. I got an offer once to do so, but things got really busy in May, and I didn't take them up on that offer. It's an old veteran that reached out to me, but yeah, I've spoken to people using the commercial side, not the actual like Gotham. I don't think I've talked to someone using Gotham.
Okay, yeah, because I had some guys in my office, because I'm in a small office now, and we're still Intel. We're working on classified material now, but some of the guys, some people are bulls in there. Some people are like, yeah, Palantir is I think it's gonna be a viable company. So others think otherwise, like myself. So I feel like it's a 50-50 for sure.
Do you work for the government, or
we'll talk about it after?
Okay, gotcha.
So but in short, yes, I mean, you can look me up on LinkedIn. It's not updated on what my current position is. I will try to keep that private.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it's a very unique, it's definitely a unique company and stuff. Now when it comes to everything else, so you got in stock market, you started a YouTube channel, and now you're also talking about other companies as well. I see you talk about Tesla a lot, but I've recently seen you talk about DNA.
Yes.
That's another company seems like you're really passionate about.
Yep.
I don't know much about it, so I can't really speak on it on an educated basis. I have questions about it, because what I noticed, I was going through your channel and I was comparing our investment styles, right? And I realized you are Kathy Wood, I'm Michael Burry. It seems like we're so opposite, because I noticed a lot of the stocks that you like are actually in ARKK. Am I correct?
Well, Palantir is not in ARKK, so
yeah, Palantir is not.
The
For
only
exception of Palantir
stock I have is Ginkgo, which is DNA, and so I don't agree with Kathy on a lot. Like, I think Roku's stupid. I think Zoom's whatever. Like, I hate Coinbase. I'm not a crypto fan. You probably have seen. So this is the one stock I think she's getting right, and I think she just bought another 800,000 shares yesterday. I think I actually understand why she's loading the fucking boat on this stock, but I don't have any other Kathy stocks.
Oh, okay. I thought you did.
No, I've got nothing.
I had a list. I guess not. Okay, yeah.
SoFi, DNA, Palantir, Google. I have 5 shares of Tesla if you want to call me a Tesla shareholder, and that's it. So.
Oh, you only have 5?
I only have 5 shares. So that's why when you say talk about Tesla, I'm like, I talk about it on the live streams, but I don't actually do videos like analyzing Tesla.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't have a big position in Tesla.
Yeah, I thought you were a lot heavier on that one. Yeah, so when it comes to DNA, can you kind of break that down a little bit? Because I pulled it up, and when I started talking about it, I was like, DNA, I've never heard of this. So I pulled it up. It's like a $3 stock now, and it was $2. So I'm like, oh man, here he goes with another one of these crazy stocks. So what's the deal with it? Why do you have so much conviction on this one?
Whoa, we're stopping right here for a second. Yes, if you are brand new to my channel, please click that subscribe button. Give it a thumbs up if you're enjoying this content so far. And of course, share this video with other people so my YouTube channel can grow. And if you haven't done so yet, make sure you also swing over to Amit's channel and also subscribe there. Now, we're done talking about Palantir, and I want to see, what are your thoughts? Comment below. Let me know if you like Palantir, if you think it's going to go parabolic here soon. What are your thoughts on Palantir? We're also also about to get into this company called DNA. He's going to speak about it. Funny thing is, I did a little bit of research, like a little bit, and I ended up buying 20 shares. Whoa.
Yeah, so I guess two things. Number one, a lot of my investment due diligence. First of all, the valuation, it's down 83% for the year. So like I think this is for me, this is a beautiful time to jump into a stock down 83%. Same thing with SoFi. I jumped in when it was down 70%. So it's finally getting to some stocks that are not Palantir at $19 average, right? So I think for the valuation, I like it. I like the numbers where they're at right now. They have 1.4 billion in cash. They SPAC'd in September 2021, so they have a lot of cash in the balance sheets. Second thing is my due diligence process is really understanding the long-term vision of the company and trying to actually gauge a sense before you get into the nitty-gritty numbers of like what are these guys trying to do, right? Is there a mission that I can really align myself around? For Palantir, I got it. For SoFi, AWS, a fintech, I got it. For Google, obviously, I get it, right? Search, all this stuff. Now, for DNA, they are trying to be the leaders in the synthetic biology space. In the lamest terms, synthetic biology is programming DNA. So in code, we have zeros and ones that you program on a computer, and it's virtually costs nothing to program code. It's just the time it takes for you to type it out. Our DNA, the little things on our body, they have ATCs and Gs, if you remember like basic biology, that also can be programmed physically and not virtually. That programmatic DNA allows companies who can figure out how to program the DNA to create like amazing applications of cell-based biology in a synthetic way. So an example is DNA works with a cannabinoid, Kronos, which is a weed company that builds cannabinoids for CBD. So instead of having to grow entire farms and use these greenhouses to make cannabinoids, which is the chemical in weed, they synthetically created that through synthetic biology because they have this 200,000 foot automated structure in Boston. That's their main facilities, and they use robotics and AI to be able to actually do the synthetic biology at scale. They are trying to take a tech business model, which we all know about, the platform that owns all of the sort of upside like AWS over the companies using the platform, and bring that to biology, which is why it's not a biotech company in the same respect of if their drug gets rejected by the FDA, their company goes bankrupt. Yeah. They're a platform, and their goal over the next 20, 30 years is to be the most monumental platform that allows different cell-based biology applications to be built using their platform. Right now, it takes $5 million to start up a programmatic DNA company. They want to reduce that cost to zero. So it's a very bold ambition. And because they have the facilities to do it, they're helping a lot of companies do that. If they do that, that market is going to be more significant than the computer market. Like, so the TikToks, Apples, YouTubes, like these $1 trillion companies, they will be nothing in comparison to synthetic biology, because the things you can create with synthetic biology are physical goods like cement and the plastic and plates and all this different type of stuff. The reducing nitrogen in the air for carbon dioxide. I mean, there's for greenhouse gases, there's so many use cases here. And so you have to believe in that vision of synthetic biology. You have to believe it's coming, and you have to believe that a platform is the correct business approach from a tech perspective to monetize. And so I believe they have the right platform and they can monetize in the future.
Now, but these are all just the vision that they have in the future. Are they actually doing this? They're actually doing the stuff that they're saying they're doing right now.
No, they're doing it. So they're cell-based applications for biology, meaning the actual programs running. They want to have 500 by 2025. They're on track to increase by 250% this year. They're going to have 60 programs by the end of this year. Last year, I think they had like 10 or 11 or whatever they had. And their revenue is increasing 300% year over year. In COVID, during the pandemic, you know how we have cybersecurity in case there's viruses? Yep. They created the industry of biosecurity. So they made like $500 million something getting a shit ton of contracts from governments and communities to use their programming technology for DNA and help apply it towards vaccine distribution and helping out with the vaccine and testing in populations. They helped Moderna create the mRNA strain synthetically for the vaccine. And so the head of DNA's VP of engineering just got tasked by the Biden White House to be the new VP of biodefense, because the Biden administration is like, another COVID might happen. We need to be prepared when it happens. And so they have all these different sets. It's called Concentric by Ginkgo. That's like their biodefense offering. There's a lot of different areas where they're expanding at, where they're seeing that the market opportunity for synthetic biology is just growing, and it's growing exponentially. They've done 3 times the amount of work they've done in terms of programming DNA than they have done in the past 10 years. And the cost to do it is going down by 50% every single year. So that S curve is really attractive at $3. You know, it's a really nice valuation. and they're 90% institutionally owned. The founders have been together for 5 years or 20 years, 5 founders, 1 MIT professor, 4 MIT chemical PhD grads. They teamed up to build this company. They have not sold a single share, any of the founders, outside of the shares they needed to cover their tax purposes. So, I mean, it's a really exciting, company, and I think it's worth digging into.
The story sounds good, and it definitely sounds like you're definitely sold on the story. My question is then, why is it down 80-some%?
Because the market's down. I mean, it's a growth stock. The market's down.
Are they unprofitable, I'm assuming?
They're absolutely unprofitable. Yeah. I mean, they're probably going to take 3-4 years to get to profitability. It's one of those things where if you believe in their vision, then you as the market, because then you could also ask, why do they have 90%? They SPAC'd at a $15 billion valuation with $115 million in revenue. And so why would 90% of institutions be like, we're going to give you that valuation? I mean, there had to be some logic there in terms of an overarching thesis on what they would be able to do, which is why at this valuation, it's even more beautiful to me, just because the macro has killed them. Now, their business model is they don't create any proprietary products, which is what I love. They are the Apple App Store, and they're waiting for their TikTok. They're waiting for the YouTube. They're waiting for the Facebook. They're waiting for these companies to come use their platform, and they have equity stakes and royalties in every single drug or thing that is manufactured off those products. So, for example, when Biden canceled the marijuana pardons the other day, Kronos, a weed stock, which is who they work with, was up 13%. And as a result, Ginkgo, that has an equity stake in Kronos, also, was up as a result of that equity stake. So if they can have these tiny equity stakes in hundreds and hundreds of companies that are using their platform, it's another AWS approach to me. And I think Kathy really loves that platform-based approach, which is why she's buying into. She has over 120 million shares of the company. And so that's why I'm sold on it as well. It's one of those things where I would say no more than 10% of your portfolio. Obviously, it's speculative, but it is something that's a very serious 20 to 30x if everything goes well. If not, to me, at least a 2x, in the next 5 years.
Yeah. No, see, at those prices, this is why I have no problem buying speculative stocks at this price, right? I actually did with AMC, believe it or not, before when the pandemic happened. AMC, everything went down, right? I bought AMC at $2, and my goal was when everything opens up, so at least double to $4. That's where I really valued the stock at, $4. I was like, theaters are slowly running out of business. They're not profitable anymore. But I was like, you know what? I know for sure it will double. Woke up one day and it was at $12. So I sold out of it. I didn't know about the meme stock at that time. It was just catching on. My buddies called me because me and him had made a bet where he was like, yo, I'm gonna buy a couple of options. I bought like 50 shares. And next thing you know, we woke up and said, dude, did you see what happened on AMC? No. I opened it up. I was like, dude, I'm selling. And I sold. Little did I know it was going to skyrocket where it did, because I wasn't aware of this whole meme stock phenomenon that happened. But like the DNA, I will definitely take a look at it. At $3, I'll probably wait until it dumps back to 2-ish. And I'll probably buy 100 shares or something, just hold it, because $4 or even 1x, that's not bad, But I see you seem to find a lot of stocks that you like the story and you like the vision. It seems like that's really what sells you more than anything, right? Is the vision of where they're going, and they're all highly speculative, right? And they're pretty much not profitable. So you seem to find stuff that you think may be the future of tech, I'm assuming, correct?
Yeah, and that's where I think I align myself with Kathy. The problem is like the things that are not profitable that she likes, like Roku and Zoom, I've analyzed them and I'm like, I don't get inspired by she has $800 million something in a company that's a TV operating system. I genuinely don't understand what the hell is going on in her research lab for them to be that excited about that. So like that, I can't get on board with. That's why I don't hold any RK. I sold out of the entire ETF because I don't get it at all. But when I think of stocks like DNA, and I'm like, okay, I'm inspired by the vision. I'm also inspired. I'm betting on people, right? And I really love their team. Like I've listened to every single interview on the internet of these guys, like over 50 hours of content, just binging it. And I'm like, I can bet on these guys. And if they're not profitable right now, that's fine. The growth story is there. If the growth story plays out, the vision plays out, and the team actually is able to do what they said they can do, then I can bet on it. But I'm not going to do that for Roku and Zoom and Coinbase when I don't even believe in crypto as a thesis. It's barely there in my mind. So Coinbase doesn't make sense. Right?
That is so odd. You're such a fanboy of all these speculative stocks and these stocks that are the future.
I would disagree there. When you say all of these speculative stocks, it's 3 of them that I think are speculative that I own: SoFi, Palantir, and DNA. Those 3 I've aligned myself with. Other speculative stocks, like I've never talked about them in a fun way, you know, like Lemonade or anything like that.
All right. So I'm mischaracterizing your, I guess, your portfolio in general when it comes
Yeah,
to that.
because it's those three stocks that I enjoy. Am I a fan of growth over value? 100%. But it's like the ARK side of investing was attractive to me for a while until I saw the moves. A, she showed out a Palantir. I was like, that's stupid. And then B, they started buying stupid companies. Like when you sell Coinbase at $50 2 days before they announce a partnership with BlackRock and they go up to 100, that's when I'm not trusting your management skills from money, right? So for DNA, her buying it got my attention. Her buying it is not the reason I'm buying it. You know, because I get zero, like, even if you're like going to make the content are like, oh, you can make more videos about Kathy. It's like, people don't like her anymore. Like and having a Kathy stock is not a good thing for a portfolio. So I genuinely like the company. And, you know, she introduced me to them as she started buying them heavily.
Yeah, it's Kathy Woods is very unique. Actually, believe it or not, I feel bad for her because I know in 2020 everyone was like, she's the greatest ever, she's the GOAT, blah blah. She saw the future, nobody else did, and obviously her portfolio is just taking a dump right now. And now everyone's just like, she's the worst investor ever, and stuff like that. So you know, you're going to have, depending on what you're pumping, you will have people change their sentiment on you. It's just kind of how the market works and how YouTube works and everything. People,
yeah, and she'll be back. She'll be fine. I mean, I think RKK.
I don't know if she's gonna continue. If she's gonna continue to buy Zoom and Roku, I don't know. That is a very weird investment because I think at one point she also has Zillow in there, right?
That is true. She did.
Yeah. So I'm very unsure. Now, what I'm also interested in. So, but you don't like Meta, right?
Yeah, so I don't like Meta because the publicity of it is really bad right now. And I bought Meta at 325 and I sold at 240 after that crazy collapse. So I was very bullish on Meta. I'm starting to get more excited about them because my thesis on the metaverse is changing the more research I do. And so the more research I do, I'm like, okay, I think the metaverse. I saw a video the other day of someone wearing AR or their Oculus thing, and learning how to play the piano. I was like, this is fucking crazy. This is amazing. Like, and then I'm thinking, like, can Zucks own this market? I'm like, well, who else is spending $10 billion a year on this? And yes, people don't like Facebook, but who else actually is building a developer ecosystem for the metaverse? It's really just Zucks if we think about it. Like, yeah, there's Microsoft, yeah, there's Apple probably, but so if the metaverse becomes a thing, I mean, and there's a multi-trillion-dollar opportunity there, I think Facebook's going to get a decent piece out of it. I haven't initiated a position yet, but I'm getting ready to, because at 10 times free cash flow, you know, at $134, it's looking absolutely stupid at this point. But I do think the market hates them because the market hates them. Because the market hates
definitely
them.
Do. So you, which is odd because so you sold out of Meta when it was at, you got at 320, you sold at what, 240? You said
240, and I put it into Palantir at 12.
But you held on to Palantir. Yeah,
because so Meta to me, I think I just bought way too early. It was $1 trillion company. I was like, it's easily a $2 trillion company in February, which at 325, by the way, it was trading still incredibly cheap compared to a lot of its I guess in that time, if you look at like the forward PE and the PEG ratio, I was like, this is just really cheap. But obviously things have fundamentally changed. Interest rates have changed. So I sold out of it because the conviction left for me. Also, when they announced their DAUs and MAUs went down, not by a lot, but by enough to the point where I was like, what's taking this attention? Like, what's actually taking this attention? And it was like TikTok. I was like, oh shit, like TikTok's a different animal. Along with the fact that TikTok has a recommendation algorithm that is rooted in interests, not social graphs. Meta's entire career is based off, you know, Mike likes this guy, Jack likes Jill, therefore we're going to show them their content. TikTok's like, if you like basketball, we're just going to keep showing you fucking basketball. And I was like, that's a revolution in and of itself that Meta was not prepared about, which means their AI and their models are not as advanced as TikTok's because they just have more data. So I was like, this is going to be a bit of a headwind. Now with these valuations, I'm like, they still control 3.4 billion people per month. WhatsApp is not even monetizing. It's at 400 million monthly active users. Instagram, as shitty as the product is becoming, it's still going to be relevant. If you're an advertiser, where else are you going to go outside of Facebook? You're not going to go to Google search ads because if you need to show people your t-shirt because you're starting a t-shirt brand, that doesn't happen in search. So it's like, Facebook's not going anywhere, but the sentiment around them, people just hate the brand so much. And that's why I haven't bought back in.
Yeah, unfortunately, like you, I actually bought Facebook as well. Around that price, I bought at 300, and then the earnings happened, and it was just dropping like hot potatoes, and then it dropped down to, I think it was 240 that same day, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna wait for a quick pump. There's no way. I was like, they're gonna buy back up at this price, and dude, I mean, it's actually Meta. So this is the thing: Meta, Square, and Roblox are my three biggest holdings in my portfolio that I have consolidated, right? I have multiple portfolios, but those are like my 3 biggest holdings, with Facebook being number 1, Square being number 2.
Square.
You could only, dude, don't even look, man. That was
Wait, you still believe in Square?
no, absolutely not. I don't. But
Oh,
this
you
is the
just haven't pulled
problem.
out of
So
them.
yeah, same thing kind of like with you when you were saying in the beginning stages of your journey, when you bought stocks super cheap and then you sold. Well, I never took a loss. I just sold out way too early, and then I saw where it ran up. So I was also in this group and stuff, and this guy he was supposedly knows everything about the market, and he was saying Square is good at 190, and I bought at 190.
You know, I thought it was good at
175.
192. I remember seeing it
Yeah.
at 190. I thought it was phenomenal, and obviously, you can't blame yourself. Like the whole, like no one is a saint right now, right?
Yeah. But this is the thing. For one, they said that Square was going to be a new JP Morgan. This is before I really knew how to analyze companies and stuff. It's before I knew supply and demand. And I never really understood where he was getting his price targets from. He was just like, I have this special algorithm that works for me or something, some secret sauce shit. It was just supply and demand. So once I figured out supply and demand, and at that point, I already bought Square at 190, bought at 175, bought at
That was what,
150.
February 2021 or like April 20? That was
Yeah, or
2021 for sure. Yeah.
it was definitely 2021. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was 2021 because I stopped buying in 2021, I believe.
Yeah.
But once I did supply and demand, like literally, it hit every single one of the levels he called out. But had I known how to analyze stocks and looked at the charts and the technicals, I would have known it would have hit at least $88, which was at my bottom. And I joked about it on Instagram. I put all the levels and I put $88 like it's in hell. Little did I know it was going to drop below $88. I think it's like $55 now. At this point, I have to just hold it. There's
So
nothing.
your thesis hasn't changed about Square.
No, it's terrible company.
So, but why don't you just take the loss then and move on?
Because I bought, my average is 180.
So you're willing to take the loss at like $100 or 110 or something.
Yeah.
Okay. But your thesis has totally changed on the call. You don't believe in it anymore. No.
Gotcha. I think where it's at now, honestly, it's probably a fair price. Maybe $100 tops. But I'm not a fan of Square. That's the only one I'm really pissed off about. Meta, I'm not pissed off about. I do believe it. I think there's a future there. I think it's going to go probably to about $100. I'm going to start buying a couple more shares at 120.
Yes,
but I definitely think it's going to go to 100.
Me too.
And then Roblox, I have mixed feelings about.
You have Roblox in your portfolio?
Yes, I own it. Yeah. I have it because I was trading it before. I used to always buy it around 60, and it would run up to 100, and I would sell it at 100. And I would wait for it to come back to 60. I would buy. So it was like a recurring thing. And then I bought it at 60, and it just never came back. It just dropped. And I was like, and I was like, man, damn. I'm just kind of stuck with it for a little bit.
Do your kids play Roblox? Did that influence you at all?
Yes, that is exactly why it influenced me. And I did a whole episode on my my YouTube channel because I used to do these skits, right? It was like a full-fledged skits with my kids and my family.
Yes, they were fun.
Yes, the Roblox one is by far my favorite one. But the funny thing is I shot it, and then Roblox, at that time, Roblox ran to $90. And he says, my son says in there, it's like, I sold it at $90. And I was like, oh, awesome. When we were done editing, it had fell to $50.
Yeah.
So I had to hold on to it until it went back to $90. Then I dropped the episode, and then it fell again. And I was like, fuck. So I got to hold on to it.
That's a big Kathy stock. Roblox is a big one for Kathy.
It is. And then when I saw that she started buying it, I was like, fuck. I was like, because I feel like anything that she puts in her portfolio ends up dipping even further than expected. But I think they still have a potential chance of being one of the leaders in the metaverse when the time comes.
Yeah.
So I'm still a believer. I don't know if I'm going to sell if it gets back to 61. That's 61, 62 is my average. But I do like Roblox. It may be overvalued at that price though, but we'll see. We'll see how Christmas plays out and how next year plays out. And once everything turns around and when companies or when the Fed is more friendly to grow stocks or the Wall Street.
It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. So
yeah,
absolutely. Hold some of these, but I think the opportunity to buy right now is like incredible. So
yes, it is. It is. So let's talk about, man. Let's transition over to your startup company, man. So you have a startup company that you decided is called Audeo. Am I saying it right?
Audea. Yep.
Audeo. Okay. So it's AUDEA.io.
Yep.
Why that name?
Funny enough, I was sending in 2020 the original pitch deck to a business school professor who never responded, by the way. And I thought it would be unprofessional to send him amidst new startup .ppt. So I was like, I need to come up with a name for this. And I was like, well, it's about audio. It's about ideas. And I just stared at those two words and I was like, it's an idea. And like, that's what it came up with. And it ended up sticking. Our first initial 1,000 users just like love that name. They're like, oh yeah, it's sleek, idea. Makes sense. We're like, okay, boom, that's the name. And that's what we stuck with.
So tell me a little bit about it. So if my viewers know a little bit about your what the platform is, what the goal is. Let me go throw this up here real quick. So
yeah, overall, I think, startups in general are incredibly risky. And I think when someone's starting a startup, especially in the technology space, there has to be some level of unique insight that they've discovered about a market that is not been discovered by a lot of other people. And I spent a long time analyzing the audio space for a lot of philosophical reasons. Spoken word is big for me. I did debate in high school. So the art of speaking, it's always been very, very like meaningful to me. And around 2020, I started recognizing how I started consuming content. And I realized I would go to YouTube and click on videos and not watch the video. And I started asking myself, well, why am I not watching the video? Why do I only care about the audio? And it's because a lot of the videos on YouTube, the audio was the only relevant portion of the video. So it's like, hold on. Why am I going to a video platform to get access to audio content and not an audio platform? Why am I not going to Spotify? Why am I not going to Apple Podcasts? What is the like major gap? And it's not just me. As I started doing research, I was like, a lot of people are doing the same thing I'm doing. What's going on here? And I realized it was because YouTube is a recommendation engine first and foremost. Yes, for videos, but before the video part, they figure out a way to put something in front of you that you care about consuming. And I realized that doesn't really exist for audio. And so the elephant in the room is like, why isn't Spotify that amazing recommendation engine? And I think the sort of key thesis here for why I think we're a bit different, and I'll get into exactly what we are, is that Spotify to me is becoming a Netflix of audio. They are buying billions of dollars worth of exclusive premium audio content in the podcast space. So they spent about $850 million over the past 5 years buying exclusive premium audio. And they're a company that's beholden to the record labels. So if Justin Bieber comes out with a new song or Beyonce, they have to give that new song a massive amount of home play because the record labels pay them $8 billion per year for marketing and promotion, which literally just means put our fucking songs in front of people so that they get more streams. So I think Spotify is a company that is beholden to record labels and they're beholden to their premium Joe Rogan, Call Her Daddy type of podcast. Now, why is that bad? The reason that's bad is because, as you see on the screen, we've got Farzad in the bottom right-hand corner talking Tesla and Elon Musk with K10. That thumbnail and title that when you click on it on Audia is only going to be audio, not video. That to me is a packaging of content that now can access distribution if Audia can scale and we can generate network effects and have a lot of people using it. That introduces his audio idea, his podcast, for us we call it an Audia, into the world. And someone has the incentive to click on it because it was organically recommended to them and consume it. And if enough people use the service and use an audio service in the same way they're using a video service like YouTube without wanting the video, the question becomes, can that scale? And does that usher in a new brand of content creation, content consumption that is not rooted in premium podcasts or music that is created by record labels? And so what I think Audia is a search engine for audio. Now, I know that's a bold claim to say because there's not a lot of AI. There's not a lot of machine learning. Our search product, honestly, is not that good. Sometimes you search something and nothing comes up, even though there are results to rank for it. The platform is a bit buggy right now. We just contracted 3 engineers, and until December, they're coding day and night to create an entirely new system, like a new design. I know it looks a lot like YouTube. We're changing the entire design. What we've been able to do is an MVP that has about 2,000 users and has a decent amount of activity. In August, we were doing about 16 hours of listening time per day. In September, we doubled that. We beat that by 135%. Now they're doing 38 hours of listening time a day. And the goal is to keep, trying to double it every single month and keep going. So I think if we can create a search engine for audio where people get recommended pieces of audio content that is personalized to them, creators of the world like poets, podcasters, comedians, real estate agents, politicians, musicians, TED talkers, motivational speakers. There's so many brands of people that are lacking the distribution mechanism for their audio ideas to get recognition because they're not going to happen on Spotify and YouTube's just fucking competitive. That if we could usher in that new space, I think there's a market opportunity for a lot of people to get discovered.
So if you had to say like the one thing that makes you stand out from like Spotify and Apple Podcasts or even Audible, right?
Yes.
Audible. Honestly, out of all of them, I would say probably Audible is probably your biggest competitor. I would say somewhat, right?
Really, it's interesting you say that. I'm curious, why do you say that?
Because Audible doesn't provide any video format whatsoever.
Okay,
it's very like Spotify. You can still like even if like you watch Joe Rogan podcast, you can still physically watch.
Yeah, if you want,
you visually watch it. Same thing with I don't know about Apple Podcasts. I don't use it, so I don't know. but I always assume that Audible is, because Audible seems to have a lot of random stuff as well when it comes to audiobooks, when it comes to spoken words, when it comes to podcasts as well. So that's why I was saying, like, that would be kind of your biggest competitor, right?
So the answer to your, and I'll talk about Audible in a second. Your question was, what is the thing that makes you stand out? The thing that makes us stand out is I believe if we execute correctly, we are going to be a platform for a random person to upload an idea and get discovered for it. Hint, hint, in November 2021, I uploaded a video about Palantir, and now I have 14,000 people that actually care about me. Like, that to me is, and you know, it's funny, I was on the other side. I did a podcast with my friend with my friend David. He's one of my best friends, in 2020, and literally 0 plays until we had one TikTok go viral. And then finally we got like 100 listens on an episode on Spotify. Whereas on YouTube, you make one video and you work within the algorithm, and boom, you have thousands of people that are watching. And so if we could create a YouTube-like algorithm for audio, which means you have to have the algo on the tech side and then the network effects on the people side, like actual creators and consumers in one place, then I think there's going to be people who upload random pieces of content in audio format, and we're going to be able to give them distribution, and they're going to be able to get discovered. That is not happening on Spotify and Apple, and it's a very unique thing. I talked to over 1,600 podcasters over the past year and a half to get this information of like, hey, if we built this, would you use it? Hey, do you think there's an opportunity? Hey, is this even worth building? 99% of them have said yes, because we post our shit to Spotify and it dies unless we drive the traffic. And the difference between that and YouTube is on YouTube, YouTube drives the traffic for you. It's not going to give every video virality, or TikTok, same thing, but it's going to at least try to put it in front of people to get you recognition. If we can do what YouTube's doing for video for audio, then I think there's a big opportunity there. I don't see Audible as the biggest competitor, because you have to pay $15 a month and you have to buy the audio books. I think audiobook authors, for example, would see a big opportunity on Audio, because it's really hard to get people to listen to your audiobook. What if you disclosed the first 17 pages on Audio for 20 minutes and that popped up in someone's feed? I mean, how many times have you clicked on a piece of content just because it showed up in your feed? At the end of the day, I don't think there's an audio feed. And I think audiobook authors, podcasters, poets, there's so many people that if it just showed up in an audio feed, then you could get the distribution you need, which is why it would be important, which is why I think YouTube actually is our biggest competitor, because YouTube can give you the video and the audio, which is something we can't give.
Yeah. I think I just gave you an idea, though, with Audible. You see, get those Audible authors
authors
to come onto your channel.
We've been thinking
And
about
then,
that
you
for a
know,
long time. I think
17
Audible
pages. That's
Yeah, I think Audible could buy us out. You know, I'm thinking like the end game to me, to be extremely transparent, is I think we scale, get a crap ton of users, and Spotify's butt cheeks start clenching, because they're trying to be like the kings of audio. And they're like, holy shit, there's a new platform that has nothing to do with the record labels, doesn't have to give 85 cents for every dollar to fucking Sony and UMG. They don't have this massive overhang of having to give Joe Rogan another $500 million, because if he leaves, you're getting a lot of people that are going to leave. Like, that is the dumbest decision to me that they did that. Like, they just lean so heavily into, we're going to get all of Joe Rogan's audience. It's like, yeah, but that's expensive, especially for a company that's not profitable. And keeping that is the Netflix problem. When Netflix doesn't have another Squid Games, you're screwed. And the beauty of YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and Facebook is they don't have to do any of the work when it comes to content, because the world is trying to use them to get discovered, which means they have an unlimited, infinite supply of content. I think if we actually bring that model to audio, I think Spotify might buy us. I think Audible might get excited to buy us. Now, obviously, that's a really hard thing to pull off, but I think that would be the end game. Going public would be super cool, but it doesn't scare me, but it feels like kind of crazy to even say that, to think we could go public. I think we would have to have extreme growth for that to actually happen as an independent company. But I think the end game is we get a lot of users. They get scared because we're beating them at audio discovery, and then, you know, they might buy us out.
So as for the creators on your channel, right, on your platform, have you discussed a possible way where advertisers can come in as well, and they can get a bigger cut than YouTube? Because you and I both were YouTube creators. You're monetized, I'm monetized. We see how much money they take. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. So have you thought about that, like how that will work with advertisers?
100%. So I think the audio advertising. So if I said $100 billion are spent every year in audio ads, where would you guess that money goes to? Which platforms do you think get that $100 billion?
Probably YouTube and Spotify.
No, audio ads exclusively, not video.
Just audio ads? Oh man.
Yes. It's gonna blow you away because you're probably not gonna guess it. It starts with an R.
Rumble?
No, Rumble.
Oh, I don't know.
The radio.
Oh, people are still putting money in radio like
that was my reaction as well. People are still listening to the radio. So there's $100 billion that goes into the global radio advertising market. That's the opportunity that Spotify sees. That's the opportunity that I see. So I believe if we create one of the biggest databases of searchable audio with our keywords, metadata, description, all that stuff, it's the exact same business model as YouTube, where you search for Microsoft or you click on a video that has to deal with Microsoft, and then Microsoft's Surface Pro video ad plays for the first 5 seconds, and then YouTube takes a cut, the creator gets cut. I think we can do the same thing in audio. I think you just have to have that massive content library and those algorithms to be able to give advertisers a good return. The audio ad market is big. It's been validated over the past 100 years via the radio. So I think a lot of those advertisers, as they start realizing no one's listening to the radio, they're going to go to platforms that have the best data on people's ears. And I think if an idea can become that platform, then that's big. And that means creators will make a lot of money as well. The question is building up a user base, because we're not monetized right now, because you can't monetize 2,000 users, So it's going to take some time, but if we can do that, then I think creators could use us to make money as well.
Yeah, and you just recently dropped the actual application for it.
We dropped that in we dropped it July 7th, 2021, but it was such a shitty app. So we redid the whole thing. July 27th, we dropped it again. It's still not the best app, if I'm being honest, which is why we just finished rewriting the entire backend. Thousands of, for those who are somewhat technical, there's backend, there's front end. Front end is how does it look? Backend is how does the API and database communicate with each other. We just rewrit the whole backend. It took all of September, but my CTO absolutely killed it. And now we're doing the front end. And so I'm really excited for December to show people what we think the app should look like. Because again, in a startup world, you can't focus on product design and making it look cute and all this stuff, because no one gives a fuck about your product, right? So it's you just got to get something out there that is functionable, and then you'll worry about the rest later. And so that's what we did. And, we were able to raise about $300,000 for it. And so now it's to the point where we have the money to really make it better.
Yeah. I heard someone, I don't know if this is true or not. Did you actually create this application yourself?
Yeah. Me and my co-founder, my CTO, he's in California. So we both own 50%. I am, the more visionary marketing, kind of how do we get the world to care? And he's been software engineering for the past 29 years. And he partnered with me. He's 51. And a lot of people why did a 51-year-old partner with a 23-year-old? And the reason was because he did 3 startups before and he failed at all of them. And the lesson he got from failing at 3 different startups was it really doesn't matter if you build an app and it's beautiful. If no one knows about it, no one cares, right? So to me, he saw the passion and energy in my eyes to get this idea out into the world. And he's just been amazing at building the tech. And so, yeah, that's our team right now.
So essentially you're the Steve Jobs and he's the Steve Wozniak.
If this turns out the way I think it turns out, then yes.
No, you don't want to turn out that way, because Steve Wozniak kind of got screwed at the end. So
not from the business side, but yeah, he's the Wozniak to my Jobs. And now it's just a question of trying to get more and more people to understand and use the product. And, I think the cool thing about a startup is it's like creating a product for a problem that people either have or they don't know that they have. And that's usually incited by some type of person that they feel a connection to, that they feel a vision associated with, that they think they can align themselves with. I think the problem exists on the creator side massively. The consumer side, yes, it's hard to find good audio, but it's not the biggest problem in the world. The creator side, in terms of discovery for content writ large, is really fucking hard. And so I think the creators are going to bring a lot of the consumers as they find this one platform to consolidate a lot of their content in, especially if it's working better than something like Spotify. And additionally, we know where the world's going. In 2030, I don't know if the New York Times and Bloomberg survive, because so much of that attention is getting scrapped up by one-man media companies or one-person Twitter accounts that are just doing a cooler job and more authentic job at reporting the news. And so if the world's going to user-generated content, the platforms that actually consolidate that content are the platforms that become multi-$100 billion, if not $1 trillion companies. I'm trying to be one of those platforms. And it's a very risky thing. It's 99.9%. We're probably going to fail. But if we pull it off, then, it'll be well worth it.
Was this was you starting this YouTube channel a calculated strategic play to also promote your startup?
Yeah. I mean, if you go to my earliest videos in February, I was making videos about stocks and business, nothing hyper specific, like Palantir or anything like that, because the logic was, which is basic. I started talking about my startup in 2021 and I realized no one cared about it. Literally no one in the world cared. And I was okay, hold on. So to get people to care about something you're doing personally, they need to care about you. So you need to offer value to them. And that value comes in a myriad of ways. But for me, I was like, well, I know about stocks and business to a decent extent. Maybe people will find value in my communication skills. I did that in February. It failed. I was getting 0 views. There was no strategy. So I stopped it. And then finally in November, after nothing was working, I was just like, let me just try it again. Let's just see. And then I did it again. And this time it actually started getting some momentum. And so when I saw the opportunity, I really went all in, which is why I think I went from 0 to 10K in like 3 months. Cause like, I saw that moment of like, if we can milk this, I can actually develop a brand. And then one day people might care about my startup because they just like me, which is why I do a live stream every day at 10 o'clock for like an hour and a half. And I don't even talk about stocks. There's like a good 150 people there that we just talk about life. And so those are like the core people that actually care about me. And I've always wanted to develop that community, but you have to build content that's meaningful for people, for them to even discover you, for them to care about the rest of your life. And so that was the plan with YouTube.
Yeah, man, I mean, you're pretty good. It's because I pop into those sessions every once in a while and stuff, and you definitely stay consistent with with dropping content on a consistent basis and stuff. And definitely good luck to you when it comes to this startup. So I'm on it. You know, I dropped one of my Money Market Truths episodes on there to test it out to see. Like you said, it was a little buggy uploading at first.
I'll acknowledge that it's very buggy, and we got to fix that. So
yeah, but I plan on continuing to drop our Money Market Truths podcasts on there and see how it goes. The only thing I'm unfamiliar with is like, how do you get seen by people, right? And like that's the thing that you were saying is kind of just an organic play, right? You just get shown to people as they're scrolling.
It's the same thing as YouTube. Our algorithm is not as amazing as YouTube. But the funny thing is, if you're a mainly audio creator, like a podcast, like posting it on YouTube, it doesn't do that well anyway. Like I know there's podcasts on YouTube that are successful, but for every one big one, there's at least 1,000 of them that are getting 5 views an episode. Because like if I'm clicking on your thing and it's just 2 talking heads like this, unless there's a dedicated fan base that cares about you, which you've been able to build, or care about me, they're not going to stay, especially if Mr. Beast is jumping off a building wearing a hat in the recommended up next. Like people are just not going to stay to 2 talking heads. They're going to click to something else. So to me, audio on YouTube, it's thriving. It's great. The problem is the discovery mechanism is going to prefer video because video is king on YouTube, and YouTube has to make sure that the video creators get their views. Because if they don't get their views, like they're going to leave, and TikTok's already beating them at a lot of different areas. So I think there's a ripe opportunity to create a pseudo YouTube of audio if it hits scale, that when people, see you're trading with a dummy ideas in their face and they like the thumbnail title, they click it and they just consume the audio, and that's the relevant part of the consumption. And if we can get a big user base and you're one of the first creators there, we can show you to a lot more people, and that can develop a fan base similar to how TikTok started and like blew up Charli D'Amelio because she was one of the first ones there. If we can actually do that for audio at some scale, I think that would be pretty big. It's just a question of if we can execute that.
Yeah, and your platform also really heavily relies on having good thumbnails.
Yes. Yeah. And because it's not a video platform, so like the video itself won't do anything. And it's interesting. It's not just my platform and it's not just YouTube. I've noticed every single website on the planet requires a thumbnail and title. Like if you go to CNN or Fox, they're all like these pictures at the end of the day. Pictures, and if you go to a basic blog, like you want to have a good picture and a big, because I used to think like, do we need a thumbnail title on an audio platform? But then I was like, why would, and this is why I think audio discovery sucks, because if you go to Spotify, like why would you click on a new podcast? Like why would I ever enter into it? There's millions of podcasts. Why would I click on something unless it was recommended to me, or unless it was like a Spotify premium thing where they shoved down my throat? I'm never going to click on it, or unless I found it on Twitter. YouTube, why do I discover 5 new creators every day? Because there's a cool thumbnail and title that pops up and I click on it. And so my thesis, which I might be wrong with, but I think I might be right, is that if that thumbnail and title translates to just great audio instead of great video, the same discovery mechanism still applies, even if it's not at the level that it is on YouTube, where you get a video after you get the click, and then that could explode discovery. So it's just a question of seeing if that plays out.
Yeah. I will say this, man. I saw a genius marketing tactic that you did the other day on your channel. So I'm seeing now that you're meeting up with some of the YouTubers now that people love or hate. Big YouTubers, right? Ones who have like millions of followers. And you sat down with a guy named Jeremy, Financial. So I don't know a lot about him. I just know
you're his biggest fan, right?
Love him. No. Honestly, I actually don't know him that well. A lot of people, I know some people hate him and love him. So I'm not familiar with his stuff. The few things I've seen, I'm not a fan. But so same thing like me, Kevin. But I saw your interview with Jeremy and I clicked on it. I was like, oh, cool. He's finally meeting with some really big YouTubers. And you played the clip. I didn't realize it, but it was maybe 2 minutes, and then it stopped and it said, if you want to watch a full video, go to Adeo. And I was like, that was fucking genius, dude. That was genius. I gotta give you props for that. That was really, really smart, because it's kind of the same thing like I I don't know if you recently saw the whole Candace Owens and Kanye West thing.
Yeah, the Daily Wire
you know,
Plus stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And that, like, to me, I was like, that was a strategic, calculated, genius play to post that picture up there. And then people are going to go and see what she has to say in regards to that photo, which then brought people to her channel on YouTube. And then if you like her, but she's also a person who you either love or hate. If you like her, you then sign up for Daily Wire. So I was like, it was a smart play.
I appreciate that. And it's sometimes it feels a little, I know people think it's like manipulative or like, you know, sneaky or whatever, but like to me, I've discovered marketing is so difficult and like getting people's attention is so difficult. And so the way I justify to myself is like, I could put that Jeremy interview out, which I've done today in the full 54 minutes and like give it up to YouTube. But it's like 500 hours of video are uploaded to this big tech platform, and it has the most amount of control over all the platforms, in my opinion, with 2 billion monthly active users, that the video eventually will just die in the platform's algorithm, right? Like it'll give it some views, it'll be some good attention, and then boom, it's over. Or I could actually, you know, strategically use that piece of content and drive traffic to my platform. The day I did that, we got like 200 hours of audio streamed in one day, which for our platform, you know, the most we've ever done is like 77. So like his fan base just went crazy over it. They really wanted to listen to it. So they got, you know, and exclusives are not a strategy that's sustainable, but it is a strategy that at least gets some people to at least know what you're doing, what the platform is about. And if they can, you know, live with the fact that it's a hustle at the end of the day and you're trying to build your own thing and not just give up all your content to big tech, or that's going to just take it and kill it, then, you know, it can be strategic. And a lot of people in the comments were actually really supportive. You know, they were like, this is an awesome idea that you drove traffic to your platform first before giving it up to YouTube. And then I give it up to YouTube because we always have to give it up to YouTube.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, a couple weeks later or whatever. No, I totally get that. It makes sense because when I saw that, I was like, that's awesome. I mean, Joe Rogan does the same exact thing, right? He puts clips up on YouTube, and if you want to watch a full interview, you go to Spotify. So it completely makes sense. I just thought that was genius. I was like, that's awesome. You got a big name. Because again, like seriously, like I don't know Jeremy. Like I know I hang out with the crew. We all kind of in the same circle of people who hate them or don't hate them, or what, regardless. I'm not familiar with him. I don't really watch his content. I watch me Kevin's content, and so that's the one I'm more familiar with. But I saw that, and I thought it was a cool idea to stop it halfway and say, "Go to my idea." And I was like, that was smart. That was a smart play. And honestly, you should probably do that if you get a chance to interview other bigger YouTubers. Do the same thing, man, because that will definitely drive traffic to your platform for sure, man, for sure. So so what's the future, man, for moving forward with your YouTube channel and your business? What's your plans 3 to 6 months out?
Well, you know, I'm all in on my startup. So the goal is to try to grow the user base. And I have a lot of ideas when it comes to marketing. I have a lot of other YouTube channels I want to start that have nothing to do with stocks and business, that I've kind of already started, but haven't really started posting on yet because we're still trying to figure out the content strategy. Basically, I'm trying to scale me as a one-man media company in a variety of different niches that can amalgamate followings in different areas of the internet and then use that to leverage traffic to my platform and show people the opportunity that I think, you know, is big in Audia's world. So it's a lot of work. The days are rough, the highs are highs, the lows are lows as a startup founder, but it's exciting, you know, the fact that I get to do this at this age and try to go kill it. So the next 3 to 6 months are just trying to get big and keep growing. And YouTube's really hard in the finance space because the market sucks, but just got to keep putting it out there and see what you can do and see what we can get done. Yeah,
because I'm sure you've probably seen the traffic kind of decline somewhat since the market's been in a bear territory, 100%. Right?
I mean, views are down for everybody. It's just it's tough.
Even advertising money, I've noticed, has been slashed in half. So it's part of the problem. So name me all the platforms that you're currently on or channels that you have, because I've seen you with someone else. You're also on a channel with a girl, right?
Yeah. So I do a podcast with a girl named Kelly on Audia. I do like 8 podcasts right now. So,
Jesus Christ. Okay. All right.
It's like, you know, Jeff Bezos was picking up the books in Amazon in the early days. It's like, for me, it's like, who's going to create the content? It's like, well, the guy who made the platform. So, I mean, we have over 11,000 pieces of audio content. There's a lot of great creators, but a lot of it's being run by me because, you know, it's good content and we just got to get it out there. So I'm on Twitter. That's my main thing, at @AmitIsInvesting. If anyone wants to follow, that's like the big place where I'm at. And then I'm on YouTube, and like I'm on Instagram as well. It's Amit Kukraja, but Instagram's whatever. I'm trying to figure out how to grow Instagram because I don't really understand it yet. But Twitter and YouTube is my thing.
Yeah, I don't understand Twitter, dude. I don't even know how to grow on Twitter.
Twitter's fun, man. There's a big you think the finance community on YouTube is big. On Twitter, it's even, and there's like good content. There's like actual detailed research and shit on Twitter, you know?
Yeah, I would tell you this though, man. My experience with Twitter, I've had Twitter for years, but I actively started using it maybe like 4 months ago. once I stopped my channel for like over the summer, when I took a break to try to revamp my channel,
Yeah.
that's when I got onto Twitter. Dude, it's a toxic place, man. Twitter's a toxic place.
Yeah. I mean, you got to get like the politics stuffs. I try to mute all those accounts because I don't care. I don't want to see it. But I just follow like people who post analyses of the S&P 500 and the bear market and is it a good opportunity and all this stuff. And that's what makes me excited to be on Twitter. Also, the ability to build a following through tweets, and you just tweet out your video and like people click on the video. It's just like a really cool thing. So it's just about, finding the right balance of your mental health, because that platform can't get toxic. That's true.
Yeah, because I remember I posted something and someone got pissed. I was like, dude, no one even engages with your content. I was like,
You'll have
trolls
Twitter. Stupid
I was like,
trolls in my comments all day saying dumb stuff on Twitter. You're just like, okay.
No, yo, but it was true. Like no one interacts with my tweets. So I was like, well, you did. That's what I responded. I was like, you did, but it's true because I didn't even know how to like look at the analytics on Twitter. My buddy kind of walked me through it. I was like, oh yeah, nobody interacts with my tweets at all. So like at all, I'm more of an Instagram guy. So but Instagram is also getting on my nerves at this point because I have at least 2 to 3 fake accounts on a weekly basis that gets created and tries to spam my followers and tries to get them to buy coins, like some crypto or whatever, or some course or something. Like it's really annoying. I keep trying to get verified, but I don't have a huge following, so it's kind of hard, but it is what it is. Well, Amit, hey, thank you so much for coming on my platform.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
So,
it was awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. And everyone, again, check his YouTube out. Once again, how do you say your last name?
Cook Raja.
Whatever, you guys saw it. I'm gonna put the link in the description below. Make sure you follow him, everybody. And once again, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much.